With the release of the new Resident Evil 4 remake earlier this year, many fans, including myself, wondered where the woman in the red dress would fit in and if we could get to play the side story separate ways. It may have taken a few months and a DLC, but Separate Ways remake is finally here, and we can play as Super Spy and Leon's lover, Ada Wong. Overall, Separate Ways has us playing and seeing a completely different side of Resident Evil 4 that answers a lot of questions you may have had after playing the main story. I've got to say really quick, I absolutely love this DLC. I think they really cleaned up anything a player was missing from the original Resident Evil 4 and put it in a better place and then made it even better. And I really think they set the stage for Resident Evil 5 so much better than before. Like the main story, Separate Ways has its own set of challenges, with one of those being called Enough to Get the Job Done. This challenges the player to complete the entire Separate Ways game mode while only using pistols and knives. So, for my second playthrough ever, and my first challenge video as Ada Wong, I decided to give it a shot. And to spice it up even more, I'll be playing on the hardcore difficulty and only using one pistol throughout the entire playthrough. I thought about pro, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go back yet. With that being said, my name is Jeeps_, and this is how I beat Separate Ways using only one pistol and knives on the hardcore difficulty. First and foremost, I have to disappoint my Twitch chat. I hate to be the bad guy here, but I'm gonna record for a video, so I have to take the lights down. Then we can head into Chapter 1. We start off by rescuing Luis from what could have been a somber fate, and Ada immediately demands that he hand over the amber, a vial holding the secrets of a powerful Las Plagas variant and our overall goal for this mission. Naturally, Luis had to hide it before he got captured, so he plans to take us to it. I put on the dress alternate costume here and these glasses accessory, and it turned out great, honestly. I should note here that I do have a secondary goal to get a S+ if I can, so we're going to be going through as fast as we can. After traveling through the castle a bit, we squeeze ourselves through a crack in the wall and run into the figure in the black robe. Louise and ourselves get separated here, of course, but make plans to meet up at the church in the village. You know, the one with the bell. This is one of Ramon's personal assistants and will be chasing us throughout the story for quite some time. The first encounter game plan is to hit as many headshots as possible and to do damage fast. Eventually, it screams really loud and transitions into phase 2, where it can use Shadow Clone Jutsu. We have to pick out the real one here while avoiding the others. I actually ran out of pistol ammo here, which I thought was going to be a bad omen for the remainder of the run, but the amount of health the black robe had was so minimal, I was able to finish it off with our knife. Now that the first encounter with a long-standing enemy is done, we can move forward. Collecting reasonable amounts of ammo in each area is going to be our priority, since we need to have some bulk for boss fights. That means that regular enemies will be treated as fodder until they prove to stand in our way. Outside, in the battlement area, we learn who we're working for, and it's Albert Wesker. Seems like we just spent a lot of time with him recently. Moving through this area, I literally can't help but feel like a spy while taking out these two enemies with sneak attacks and hearing the music. I also hit a pretty sick jump off, roll into an assassination combo here for good measure. We use our grappling hook to head up to the next level and run into quite a few crossbow enemies and enemies manning trebuchets, but grappling right past them is really no issue, and we can end Chapter 1 nice and quick and drop our way into the village. Chapter 2 has us start off in a familiar village area, but from a much higher vantage point than we're used to. Up here, we can assassinate several enemies as we grapple our way across until we can finally drop down to the bottom. There's a few items we can collect here, and once we approach the exit, a man-bear-pig guy bursts through. So for the sake of feeling smart, we head back and crouch under a nearby tripwire in order to slow the man-bear-pig down and make a break for it. We're going to run right past the enemies here, dodging as much as we can until we see the prompt for our grapple gun. Wesker calls us, and we mention how riled up the locals are. We find ourselves on the other end of a familiar cabin where we can do some more sneaking around and actually blow some enemies up with an explosive barrel, which doesn't count towards a challenge, but we blew them up in such a way that we can easily open the door and squeeze past towards the farm area. Kinda. I managed the sickest dodge of my Resident Evil career on the drawbridge and make it to the grapple gun prompt with only one crossbow bolt to the face this time. We find ourselves on a precarious cliffside that we must use our grapple gun to climb up. Once again, we are stealthily taking out many enemies along the way. These kicks Ada does to the enemies standing right on the edge when she grapples are just so satisfying for some reason. We come to a door with a puzzle with a solution that can be found in this room, but I was able to remember it from my first playthrough, so we can go ahead and input it to move on. I walk into an invisible wall for way longer than I should have, and we find our way to the church, the location where we're supposed to meet Luis. Once again, stealth is on our side, and after a few enemies, we open the large church gate. If you don't want to fight the other guys, you can really just run past everyone here. As soon as you touch the church gate, the cutscene will play. We wait around for Luis for quite some time, and it looks like he wasn't showing. Wesker tells us the tracker on his body has stopped moving, so we head towards him to find out ourselves. If you've played the original Separate Ways, then you know that Ada is the reason the church bell rings during the initial village assault Leon experiences. The remake is no different, except now we get to deal with them. On our way out, all the enemies from the village begin to flood into the church courtyard. But with some super smooth spy skills, we can actually just barely avoid being seen and walk away without a fight. I know I made that sound really cool, but you can actually just run right past them. They don't do anything. The in-game challenges actually want you to defeat all these enemies, but if you ask me, avoiding them like this takes more skill, or at least it would if they weren't kind of free. Here we have our first merchant visit, and I make it a point to immediately sell anything I don't need to include ammo types other than the handgun and the other starting weapons, as well as some treasures we've collected so far. This is where I decided to commit to the Blacktail pistol for the entirety of the run. I couldn't tell you why, I just like it, I guess. We tab over and repair our knife, of course, and put some money towards its durability. Then we use the remaining pesetas we have for a power upgrade on the Blacktail. Once we enter the village proper, the Black Robe appears to fight us once again. This fight with the Black Robe isn't much different from the first. We'll shoot it as much as we can until it screams at us to initiate phase 2, the Shadow Clone Jutsu phase. The difference is, this time, once we do enough damage, the Black Robe will scream again and initiate a third phase where it becomes a shinobi from the hidden village of the mist. The Black Robe throws up a fog, making it harder for us to see which one is the proper one. We were actually able to accumulate enough ammo to take him down without the knife, but just barely. The Shadow Clones were doing a phenomenal job of protecting him, though I blew a lot of rounds trying to shoot through them. Once he's defeated, Ada goes to finish him, but can't. He gets away, so we craft some more handgun ammo for our reserves. Then I decided to loot the village for treasures and ammo for the future. Once done, we make our way towards the Big Cheese's home and that iconic scene where Ada mysteriously saves Leon plays, ending chapter 2. We start outside the chief's bedroom window and make our way in with the intent of finding a clue of Luis's whereabouts. Downstairs, we can knock a picture off the wall to find a hidden key behind it. We grab some more miscellaneous items while we're down here, as well as an extravagant clock treasure for future money management. Back upstairs, we use the key we found to open a drawer with a note hinting at Luis's location. We head back out the door to find the Big Cheese with a serious intent to take us out. So, naturally, I tried to shoot his hat off. That didn't play out as intended, so we're going to be making a run for it. We travel outside and avoid several traps laid on for us before finally making one last grapple over a high wall to lose the cheese man. I made it a point to travel to the dead end to shoot down the hanging emerald treasure. We do some treasure combining for some extra things to sell, and then talk to the merchant once again. We repair our combat knife, and then use the remainder of our pesetas to upgrade the Blacktail. There's only one upgrade we're missing right now, so it's looking pretty stacked for early game. Lastly, we buy some more small resources in order to craft some more handgun ammo before heading into the old factory. The energy here is pretty similar to recent activities if you can't tell. Just watch out for laid on bear traps and explosive tripwires. There's an enemy here we take out that's wearing a familiar leather jacket, which we can grab in order to sell to the merchant later in order to complete one of his requests. At the end of the hallways, we find a gruesome scene that Ada doesn't quite seem to think Luis was capable of. We find his footsteps and follow it to his beloved pack of smokes, which has his radio frequency on it. He's alive, of course, and wants us to meet him at a large cabin we had already visited to collect the amber from him. On our way out of the old factory, though, a horde of enemies approaches to include 2 chainsaw enemies. But, believe it or not, this is ridiculously easy. I'm not sure if I've just been lucky or the chainsaw enemies just can't seem to hit you while you turn the valve to deactivate the steam, but we squeeze right through with no issues other than some buttholes puckered. During the cutscene, Ada passes out and Wesker actually comes to retrieve us and take us back to the cheesy bedroom. Luis calls us, expressing his worries, so we make our way to him. We have to head back through the village proper this time, but on the way we run into our first Las Plagas encounter for Separate Ways. Like most other Las Plagas encounters, we literally just run right past. Although these guys are pretty tedious, because they like to run into the village proper with you, and we end up having to take them out anyways in order to talk to the merchant. We sell our valuables and procured leather jacket from earlier this trip, repair our knife, and purchase some more small resources while they're available. I decided to buy our first charm here, the Don Jose charm. When attached to our attaché case, this gives us a plus 15% handgun ammo craft bonus frequency. I used some of our spindle rewards for completing the merchant's request to get us 10 more gunpowder for the upcoming fight. Through few trials and tribulations, we run our way through the village proper to get to the other side where the door to the farm area is located. I decided to pass on collecting anything here and made a beeline for the bridge where we can see Luis and Leon being very popular from afar. But we have our own big boy to deal with. Ada makes it a point to face El Gigante in order to prevent it from interrupting the cabin fight. This Gigante fight is unique because we can use our grapple gun to get a height advantage on the already towering creature. The strategy is really the only one we have, and that's to shoot him until the Plagas in his back pops out, and then shoot that until we're given the prompt to attack it with our knife in a much more dramatic way than I think Leon would have. There's of course, and somewhat unfortunately, fodder in the area, but don't be scared to bait them into Gigante's attacks to preserve your own ammo. After quite literally every single building has been destroyed and every single pistol bullet I had, plus what was possible to collect, is used up, the beast still hadn't fallen. So we fell back on our only option, the knife. It wasn't exactly easy to even hit Gigante with the knife, but fortunately its health was extremely low, so we could finish it off easily and then head into chapter 4. We're back in the castle now for a couple chapters, starting with chapter 4. With Luis by our side, we drop down the hatch he opens for us and begin to make our way down, collecting items as we see them. And we get a good glimpse at some Ada Wong sassiness. Luis mentions the smell of something burning, and some enemies come up the stairs we're going down. We can dodge these guys and head down the stairs though, as once we get far enough, a cutscene showing Luis' secret lab up in flames plays. We're here to get a Plaga suppressant designed by Luis to help Ada, Leon, and Ashley with their infection. Luis, being attached to the lab, runs into the burning ruins, so we have to chase him through to pull him out and save him. After saving Luis, we can begin the long staircase back up to where we began. I made it a point to grapple up to the ledge and grab the gold bar treasure hiding in the chest on the way up. Back in the beginning room, thanks to Ada, Luis has an epiphany and realizes it may be possible to just make some more suppressant. And it's going to be our job to collect the ingredients, which are red ink, gold bottle, and a blue butterfly. First comes the red ink. After we go our separate ways, with Luis, we grapple our way along the battlements until we come into a hallway with 2 enemies we can sneakily take out. In the first room, we can collect the lithographic stone B and then raise the bookshelf in a very ominous feeling scene to reach the other end of the hallway for the other lithographic stone and a merchant visit. We sell the treasure we've collected as well as the miscellaneous items we can't use for this playthrough. We use some more spindles to purchase more gunpowder once again, and then buy our first special attache case, the attache case vintage. This is going to increase our drop rate for green herbs. We also purchased the final reload speed upgrade for our blacktail that we can get for now, and another round of small resources. The lithographic puzzle for separate ways is the same concept as the main game. We just line up the proper symbol and shape, and the way forward opens. Now we're in the room with the first ingredient. I somehow managed to forget the solution here, so I spin the wheel for one good look at it, and then shoot the shields in the proper order, popping open a drawer, hiding our red ink. Ada hears Leon coming, and the iconic encounter ends with us outside on the scaffolding. The next area is prime for this challenge. We have to shoot the corresponding bells with the same symbol as the gates forward. At the end, we can pick up the Crimson Lantern and a dramatic drill shows up to chase us back. The way back is the same as the way in, except we make a much cooler exit with our grapple hook. Now we can place the Crimson Lantern and open up the night area. We grab the free vintage compass off to our right and then grab the silver bottle, which turns off the lights and activates the Plagas-ridden knights in the night. We take a scrape, but we're able to place the bottle and open the gate to make our way through, trapping that set of knights in the past. We use the bottle one more time to open up a room that is clearly a trap, but has the gold bottle we need in it. Once we pick it up, it's game time and the knights come out. Remember, this is pistol only, so no flash grenades for the Plagas like normal. The real enemy here is the archers that spawn after the first set of knights are defeated. But with this hallway behind used as cover, we can take out the knights with minimal exposure to the archers, and we don't have to waste our ammo on them. Which, yeah, it took me at least 4 or 5 times to remember that I could use this area back here. But that's not important. After some placing and replacing of bottles, we can walk out of here with the second ingredient, the gold bottle. At the top of the ladder, we have another merchant visit, where we dump our treasure and repair our knife like usual. We grab a first aid spray for the road, and then head into the courtyard. We spin around the fountain to get a free velvet blue, of course. In the courtyard proper, we run into a red zealot who takes a familiar looking key item from the door for anyone who has played the original Resident Evil 4. This guy is annoying, and for pistol only, it's really about chasing him down as fast as you can, and putting as many bullets in him as you can before he runs off again. After a few loops, he will go down and drop the blue moonstone for us to use to open the way ahead. I had an intense survival moment on the way out, but the parry system saves once again.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go around these guys, huh? Oh, please no. I'd really like it if you didn't. That was messy.
So we place the moonstone and head inside. Right off the bat, we find a treasure chest with a blue diamond. The next area is the same battlements area Leon shoots at Gigante with a cannon. We grapple over and hear a familiar sound.
That sound.
The black robe is reminding us we have unfinished business, but that's still a little later on. For now, we continue to grapple across the battlements until we can drop down and collect a yellow diamond and enter the collection room. We already know the solution here, so we head straight for the lock and input beetle, skull, and then alligator to unlock the case, netting us the final ingredient, the blue butterfly, ending chapter 4. We spawn into chapter 5 in front of a set of Luis's footsteps we'll need to follow to find him. In the previous cutscene, we met back up with him and he was able to make the suppressants from the ingredients we collected. Then the black robe came for us, causing us to go our separate ways once again. The footsteps lead us downstairs where we can sneak up on a few enemies waiting for us. These guys are easy to aggro, so we end up fighting the rest before pulling the lever to open the proper door forward. There's also an elegant crown treasure for us to grab in a nearby treasure chest. Following the footsteps has us drop even further down where we find some clues left behind by Luis as to where to go. We slowly lower ourselves down even further. Before moving forward, we head up the broken stairs to grab a treasure first. Further down the hallway, we run into some very familiar bug nest and find ourselves in the waterway. Yet another area fans of the original Resident Evil 4 are probably happy to see. We're going to be skipping pretty much everything here, so we run past the first trio of enemies and hear Ada adamantly admit she won't be swimming, so we go around. There's another merchant trip available here, and all we really have to sell is some velvet blues and miscellaneous ammo we've collected. We repair our knife and notice that now the remainder of the Blacktail upgrades are available, and get an ammo capacity upgrade with the little money we have left. We trade 5 more spinels for the Ada Wong charm. This will go on our attaché case and give us a special grapple we can use on shield enemies. Now we can head out and straight into the bug-infested waterway. There's 2 Novis we have to get past as we make our way around, and we get to put our new shield grapple to use pretty quickly. There's another valve we have to turn, this time lowering the water level from the area down below. Right next to the valve is the biosensor scope, which we can't use in this playthrough, but I grabbed anyways to sell it later on. Now the waterway is down, we head straight for a nearby chest with a mirror with pearls and rubies inside, and then the nearby drop-off. I take a hit from the first Novi and then miraculously dodge a hit from the second while I'm shooting down the treasure container, which holds a yellow diamond. We crouch down and head under the nest-like area to find and shoot the Lord of the Waterway, an absolutely massive bass that the merchant wants us to sell him to complete a request. There are Novis in the water the rest of the way, so keep an eye out for them until we reach the end and one last arrow hint from Luis. This next room is rough. There's an armored Garrador here that must be defeated. As soon as we start the fight, several fodder enemies come in, and it feels like they spawn infinitely. The strategy I ended up using was slow going, but it did do the trick. I tried to round up as many fodders as I could, and then bait the Garrador to our position, so that it could do the dirty work for me. This would prove effective, and the other enemies do actually end up having a stopping point. Once it's just us and Mr. Garrador, it's a matter of survival. Survival long enough to bust open the Plagas on its back to open the gate forward to an elevator taking us up. At the top is a somewhat vital merchant visit. We sell our usual items and stock up on small resources. The knife needs repairing, of course, and with the little remaining pesetas we get in 2 more power upgrades for our Blacktail and another power upgrade for our knife. I guess I never mentioned upgrading the knife the whole time, but I have been. Using 2 more spinels, we purchase the carbon fiber attaché case for later use. This will increase our drop rate for small resources. 1 quick safety save just in case, and we're heading down the path. We hear a familiar screech and grapple our way to a nearby scaffolding where the fight begins. The Black Robe's true self might look a little familiar. The strategy I use is to keep your distance and always be prepared to dodge. You're going to have to dodge a lot. Using the distance we create, we need to hit as many headshots as possible to maximize our ammo usage. The first phase is actually a lot quicker than you might think and goes down relatively easily. Make sure you reload your 1 weapon before picking up the housekeeper's barrette, because once you do, it's game time for phase 2. Turns out its tail was the real driving force here. The tail spends a lot of time burrowed under the ground. It comes up in a worm-like nature, showing its belly weak spot that we unload as many rounds into as possible. Over time, we'll do enough damage to make it curl out of the ground, showing not only a weak spot on its tail, but also a prompt to knife it in its prominent belly weak spot. It will get mad and summon Novies to come to its aid. They're actually pretty easy to take out though, and are good for feeding you more ammo when you're running low. Wash, rinse, repeat, and soon the monster will fall. After the battle, we get a call from Luis, and it doesn't look like he's doing so hot. Naturally, Ada only acts concerned about the amber, but as we continue to head further down the path, Luis's gratefulness might soften her up a little. One more grapple and Luis is on his deathbed, and maybe, even more importantly, Krauser is now in play. There's a few more things to do before the chapter ends, so we spawn up at the clock tower and begin to chase a very fast-moving Krauser. Turning the valve and getting into the cave is simple if you move quickly. We have another merchant on the other side of the gate, and as per usual, sell the treasures we collected. We were also able to afford quite a few blacktail upgrades on this trip. That's it for this trip, but we head inside to get some more spy sneak attacks in before climbing a ladder to avoid some enemies and then jumping straight back down in order to pull the lever, activating the giant smashy things. After going under the first smashy thing, we look up and shoot a hidden Novi. This is one of 3 in this area we can take care of for a merchant request. The last set of smashy things has a tedious group of enemies in it, but eventually we get past them and shoot the second hidden Novi on our way up the stairs. On my casual playthrough, this guy took me forever to find. The next area is best done by running past and parrying what you can, but we can't forget to take down the final hidden Novi high up on the wall before climbing up the ladder and shooting our grappling hook at the top. We find ourselves on the outside of the far side of the castle with an elevator leading down. Ada gets a call from her client Wesker, demanding a report, and states how important it is to keep the client happy while on the way down. At the bottom, there's a few more enemies in our way, but hey there, post-production Jeeps here. Just wanted to point out that literally this grabbed me, but we decided to simply not bother with them. One does get a lucky grab, and another has a conveniently long scythe, but nonetheless, we're able to sit past and grab the boat keys. Once we grab them, we get to see Ada in her true spy nature as she watches Leon enter, presumably after his fight with Ramon Salazar, ending chapter 5. I put Leon in his romantic costume, so I had to watch this cutscene for just a little bit. Chapter 6 is our first island chapter, and we start off in an enemy camp. There's quite a few items for us to pick up before heading inside a tunnel and trying to dodge the enemy here. But he tends to follow us through the door that leads to the amber storage every time. If you haven't played the game, you may be wondering why this amber is different from the one we're after. Just know that the specific amber we need is a special strain. So while he's catching up, we pick up the crystal ore treasure before turning around to dispose of our tail. The more enemies burst in the door we need to exit out of, and trust me, it'll be easier on you if you just get them out of the way now. We shoot down a hanging treasure container for an Alexandrite, and then work on taking the enemies riding the elevator up, out, so we can begin moving it down immediately. There's a merchant at the base of the elevator where we get our usual sell/repair in and then continue to upgrade the blacktail. At this point, our blacktail is all the way upgraded and ready for the exclusive upgrade. We just need to collect the funds for it. The first attempt at the wrecking ball room was pretty rough.
Everything's fine. Ow. No, that was a brute. That was half my health. Stop! Don't kick me again. Don't kick me again. God damn it. I said not to kick me again.
But the second time we were able to shoot an explosive barrel to slow down the first man-bear pig and then climb up to the higher level. The second man-bear pig needs to be shot in the head or shot somewhere at least enough to get it to stagger, because we will need some time to push him out of the way and get to the door. Otherwise, you kind of get into this kick stun lock, and it's not fun. In the next room, we overhear Leon and Ashley's happy reunion and find ourselves in need of a plug. Not that kind of plug. To power a nearby door in order for us to go forward ourselves. There's a merchant here, but other than giving our knife a quick repair, there's no real reason to stop. Dropping down an open hatch lands us in a familiar laboratory room if you've played the main game. There's only one way for us to go though, and the fodder are easy enough to run past. The game wastes no time for throwing a regenerator at us. But if you're slick, you can squeeze right by him in a few different ways. Now we just have to traverse our way through until we get to the freezer, where we can pull out the plug we need. However, unsurprisingly, this turns the power off where we're at. We'll have to make our way back in the dark by moving through the once electrified pathways. There's one Plaga-sapped enemy that tries to get in our way, But once past him, the real fun starts. Moving down the dark hallway, we open a treasure chest with a golden Link's treasure inside. Then we have to dodge a regenerator, which isn't too hard, but immediately after we have to squeeze by an Iron Maiden, hoping for the best. We got past him with pretty minimal damage, honestly, and can grapple up to come full circle and place the battery for us to go forward. We're heading to the island's comms facility, because for a little extra pay, Wesker wants us to take a case there and run the system. We're going to have to go on a gondola ride to get headed in the right direction though. Another similar callback where we just have to subdue the enemies shooting at us on the way down. There's even a rocket guy, but it seems all the enemies go down on one or two well-placed shots regardless. Hey, post-production Jeeps here. It's not that. You have to upgrade your pistol, because if it's not, they won't die easy like that. I learned it the hard way. Ada expresses her feelings for the ride at the bottom, of course. We have a merchant here, but we still can't do anything more than sell our items and repair our knife. The next segment is the final hurdle before the comms facility. There's 3 laser-mounted machine gun turrets in front of us, but we don't actually have to destroy any. Jumping down, we take cover from the first 2 instantly until we can catch a break and move right to grapple up. Then, avoiding the enemies, we need to head across the bridge and repositioning the automatic turret. It can get really froggy here really easily, but with some patience, we're able to break through and continue upwards. The ultimate goal is to reposition a single automatic turret at the top rightmost area so that we can head back towards the middle and run like an action star up to a grapple point, ending the segment. Off to the left, we have our drop off into the comms facility. Things don't look like they ended well here, and we're about to find out why. First off, we shoot down a treasure on the hallway since it's an easy grab, and then open a keypad locked door using the iris to see the previous person's fingerprint density. We jump down into a lower area, and a massive monster that I can't remember the name of, but is definitely in a file here somewhere, appears. We immediately turn around and turn the valve to turn off the steam, blocking our path, and then slip through the open gap, just barely avoiding a grab. We drop down the grates and crouch beneath the monster until we get to the other side. We're not able to avoid him for long though, as he turns the corner ready to come after us again. This time we use our grappling hook to get away to a higher level. From here, we can just move through the comms facility, looting anything we need. Oh, and lasers. Can't forget the lasers. And then finding the room we need to be in. Turns out what Wesker wanted all along was to rig the entire island to explode, which we all knew happened, but this is just kind of how it was set into motion. The way back is straightforward until we get to the final hallway. I'm just going to show you guys the whole sequence. It's too cool to skip.
Such a badass, bro.
Always have an out.
After what may be the coolest Ada Wong scene in Resident Evil history, Wesker has arrived for us to get back to the main island and start Chapter 7. Chapter 7 starts with us parking the iconic jet ski Leon uses to escape, explaining how it got there in the first place. We have to fight our way up to the sanctuary now, and if you've played the original, you've got a pretty good idea what's coming when we get there. There's a merchant nearby, and we combine what we can to our golden links for some extra cash when we sell our treasure. We're able to sell for barely enough pesetas to purchase the exclusive for our blacktail, so for a pistol-only run, we're looking healthy going into the end game. I use some spinels to get some treasure since we won't be needing them anymore anyways, and we can use the extra money for more knife upgrades. Now starts our fight up, and the first room is a trap. You can always take down at least one enemy with a sneak attack, but the others are perfectly hidden and ready to catch you slipping. Once again here, I suggest you just take the hit and defeat all the enemies, because at the end, a man-bear-pig with a machine gun comes down the elevator and blocks our path. And if an enemy is even near the elevator, it won't allow us to go up. But with some well-placed headshots, the man-bear-pigs are a joke, and nets us another treasure before actually heading up. Immediately at the top, we can shoot down a treasure container for a velvet blue. The next enemy is one of my favorite details for the remake. We can take him out to get Krauser's actual beret and sell it later for a pretty penny. We head to the right here, and the stars seem to align perfectly for me as I got 2 quick parries and was able to use that opening to get past all the enemies and take the elevator down before any of them could get close enough to stop me. even though we did have to parry a throwable just as we started moving though. Another treasure chest holds a Justitia statue treasure for us, and just around the corner will be our final merchant trip. Selling everything puts us back up to 60,000 pesetas, and we use it to finish upgrading the knife just shy of the exclusive, and then grab some small resources and a first aid spray for the road. As we exit, the merchant expresses some true excitement, and then we head through the tunnel, shooting down some camouflage novies before they get the chance to attack us. There's also a treasure up here I got, but it won't be making a difference. We burst through into the sanctuary and iconically save Leon from Sadler's grasp, allowing him to continue on to Luis's lab, leaving us to keep Sadler at bay. In this fight, I think the way Sadler talks is so much better, honestly. I really feel the culty leader, like, send chills down your spine vibe from him. That aside, the goal is going to be to nail as many headshots as possible. And once again, be ready to dodge. Be ready to dodge often. Eventually, his eyeball will come out of his head, and we are prompted to knife his face and thus start our cycle of attack. There's one attack I don't know how to dodge, so don't ask. Focus on the headshots. They'll make things go faster, and we'll eventually knock him down long enough it seems he's down for good. But we end up getting snatched anyways. Once we wake up, Leon saves us, and a very symbolic scene plays where Ada and Leon go their separate ways. We need to help Leon, and from a distance, we can see a special red rocket launcher we need to get to. Getting to the rocket is as simple as running past all the enemies. Just weaving in and out of any fire. Once we have it is where things get a little different. Sadler's tentacles and their massive eyeballs get in our way, and we have to shoot them down before we can grapple forwards. The final segment is crowded with enemies and another tentacle for us to shoot down, but we're extremely tight on ammo and just barely make it to the elevator up. At the top, perhaps my favorite scene of this DLC plays. I just love that Ada and Ashley get an interaction here, and it feels so powerful. We do what we say we're going to and grapple up once more to rotate the crane, giving us a good angle to drop the launcher down to Leon to finish off Sadler. In this final cutscene, Leon says the thing, and for the sake of not taking away your enjoyment on your playthrough, we'll skip the final scenes. Just know it really sets up for Resident Evil 5 well. We get our rank, and turns out we missed S+ by just 8 minutes. So I guess I played around too much, but that's not really bad at the end of the day. This was a fun challenge and wasn't very time consuming, which is great for me right now. I really enjoy this DLC and am streaming the rest of the challenges right now on Twitch, so if that's your thing, I'm live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 to 9 p.m. EST consistently right now. Also, if you enjoyed your time here and like Resident Evil content, subscribe for more. Anyways, that's all for me. Peace.